Peace and blessings, y'all. This is your boy Gerald. It is the beginning of your week, January 25th, 2016. And as I am starting this video, I am burning candles of myrrh and candles made of sage. I burn these candles for you so that you have a prosperous and protected week, because you're entitled to that. You're entitled to that because you woke up this morning. And this week is going to be a week that's going to bring a lot of clarity. This week is going to bring a lot of things that will be brought in review and that will stimulate that beautiful mind. So how are you doing? Starting out wherever you may be. Some of you may have to give up a little time to get the car warmed up and scrape off that ice. Some of you may have to make adjustments with your schedule because you had to be where you needed to be to assist someone else. See, by now you may have realized what I've been trying to convey. Nothing happens just by chance. I know you might want to think that because you look at the world through a certain viewpoint. But haven't you realized that that viewpoint also correlates and defines where you are at this moment? See, I also know that there are some right now that are starting to turn a page in their life. They're embracing a new season that is foreign to them. This is undiscovered territory, so to speak, because now, over the weekend, you may have had to make concessions. You may had to make a decision that is for the betterment of your life. This decision is requiring you to tap into that courage and that fortitude that is found within you. Let me explain something to you, y'all. Does it strike you now that you're starting to see that everything that you needed was found within you all along? Now, it may frustrate some of you because you may be saying to yourself, well, Gerald, if I knew what I knew now in the time that I needed, some of the decisions and the reactions that were displayed by my choice, because we got free will, I may not have gone down that road. I may not have said those words that I can't take back, or I may have not reacted in the manner that was needed. And you're feeling a little deceived. Let me explain something to you. What is going on right now is you are being authenticated from the inside out. See, the more and more that you take that step closer to you, the more and more your viewpoint is going to change. See, you can't hold the same viewpoint or the mindset that you had that did not work compared to where you're going. See, what's at stake is the person that you're destined to be. That's why I always convey this. There are going to be a certain few that are going to know your story. And it is a blessed story. But it is your requirement to define it. I don't just say that to sound like a cliche. I'm saying it so you can see the importance of your life. So that's where the conflict comes, because you're starting to see that there may have been those you have kept company with that did not. And you're feeling betrayed. You're feeling neglected. You may be feeling downright angry because these people knowingly and willingly took up access to your life, holding a secret that was covert, knowing that they could not toe the rope. You see, y'all, society made a good run out of it, of trying to convince mankind that to make it by faking it was all that's required. But one by one, the truth is coming out. Friendships that were forged by impulse, bonds connected through disappointment, unseen, are being brought to the surface. So we always hear this: pressure breaks the pipe, Gerald. I beg to differ. I believe it's truth. Because see, the one thing about truth, the truth is a living constant, and it sometimes can cut both ways. I know I'm talking to someone. So how you doing? You made it through your weekend. For some, memories were made. For others, realities and clarity was given. No matter where you are, just know this: God's got something better for you, but He's not going to give it to you. No. I use a cliche. You remember, for those that are, I say, in their 40s, there was a show that David Carradine did called Kung Fu. And in the beginning of the trailer, you always saw him do a flashback. It really didn't matter what the episode was about because he did a lot of flashbacks. But in the beginning of each show, it showed him in front of the master or his teacher. And there was a scene where he said, if you can take this stone out of my hand, all that you're ready, pretty much. And he couldn't do it because he was focusing on the reaction of his teacher. I like to look at life the same way, but put a spin. See, the teacher is God. And God is, that stone represents your life and all that you need to navigate through this world, through this earthly realm. And you'll come to understand that, yes, you're going to fall down. You're going to scrape your knees. You're going to cry. You're going to laugh. And you're going to search. But after you've exhausted all these examples of what makes you, guess what you always do? You go within. You become still. You reflect. And you get your answer. You know why God does that for us? Because He knows that we ain't ready. He's not going to give you your blessing right off the bat, like, here you go, to watch you squander or do something that will have irreparable actions down your life. I, I, I'll spin it. Family. Don't you think it's kind of ironic that it was 2 years ago you heard the younger generation use the expression YOLO. You only live once. And that was the shield that many of the younger generations have used before. And you started seeing people express and do whatever, never to take in consideration that perhaps this was to set you up down the line. Here's my point. Anything that, okay, okay. For example, we'll talk about the whole issue with legalization of marijuana, right? Does it not surprise you the same emphasis, the same legislation, the same conflict? If you went back 70 years ago, you would see the same thing play out with prohibition. It's the same, just something different. But the common denominator was the government couldn't make no money. And since the government couldn't make no money off of it, you couldn't have it. But guess what? Now, they say, well, hey, here you go. You want it so bad, here it is. Did it ever strike you to wonder why all of a sudden now they're being so carte blanche? It's because now they're making money off of it. And they needed time to put referendums in place. What I'm trying to say is people don't do anything for nothing. There's always an agenda underneath. It's your responsibility to see what it is. If they were to turn around and say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and drop the legal limit for alcohol consumption to 8, well, we'll just say hypothetically to 17, don't you think they would have something on the back end? Who would benefit off of that? Of course, the doctors, the insurance brokers, the lawyers, as well as the penal system. Why? Free labor. But they're not going to tell you these things in the beginning. And that should be applied to your life. What I'm trying to say to each and every one of you, and yes, if I sound a little distorted, yes, Gerald's actually getting over a little bug too. But because the body is a temple, your sacred temple, it's your responsibility to invest in it. You still got work you got to do. No one's going to do your work. If anything, they're going to distract you from it. And that shouldn't be the case. So, it's the beginning of the week. Fresh 7 days. Have you put in consideration all the dreams you're going to have? All the insight that you're going to gain? As well as all the blessings that you are lining up for your life. You can't count them. But you also can't ignore the things that are holding you back from them. I know some of you right now may be thinking this, Gerald. On one hand, I'm grateful that I have this. On the other, I wish this wasn't holding me back from this. Don't you realize anything that's meant for you to have, that's ordained, can't and will not be blocked? It's like breathing. It's like your air, that precious air. Your dreams and aspirations are supposed to be the same way. So I know some of you right now, you're like, I hear what you're saying, Gerald. I'm okay. I'm dealing. Because we like to do that. We like to deal. And we want to take bite-sized pieces of whatever our problems is. And we try to persevere. You know what's really going on right now? You know them secrets you've been holding? Yeah. How about that one? That's what's keeping you from where you need to be. And for some reason, you're convinced as long as you keep it buried, as long as no one knows, as long as you keep this ruse going on, you'll still end up where you think you're headed. I'm here to tell you, your shackles are your secrets. You know that. And unfortunately, your relationships, your reality as you see it, they're all connected that way. Okay, think of it this way. Use the image of a spider web. Got it? And you're in the center of that. Now, the energy that you put out will go wherever it goes. But guess what? Eventually, it's got to return back to the source. The variable is when and how it will be manifested. See, I also know this. Now, I'm in my 40s, and I've come to understand this in my 20s. See, historically, it was always taught through our elders, no matter what was going on. Depending on how of an impact it was, you didn't talk about it. And depending on what it was, some will take those emotions to their deathbed. You would always hear that. You see it in the movies. There's Mr. Jenkins, and he's getting ready to pass. And there's that scene where, you know, he calls the daughter or the son close to him, and he's got this burden. He's got to let them know how he feels. And that was a behavior that has been fostered through the decades, through the generations. That's not supposed to be your life. That's not. That's fostered by pride. There's a difference between being proud and pride. Those who embrace pride always fall short. That's why pride does that. Pride is the initial illustrator of what not to do or what you don't need. Know why? Because people know to speak your truth, that must come from your character. But we live in a world where condoning, being PC, or giving a pass to things that you know rightfully is not for you, being forced to adapt. That's not your walk, y'all. It never was. So when you going to begin to live? When you going to begin to live? I know some people have a loyalty to their pain. They say, well, you know what, Gerald? The people that I have in my circle, they have not had my best interest and have hurt me so much. But they're there. There must be a reason why they're there. They're there because you fail to acknowledge your worth. In other words, the lesson repeats. The faces may change, but the lesson persists. You think that's supposed to be your life? Really? Because if that's the position that you hold, you are giving them, those that do not want to see you grow, permission to continue the bad behavior, the position that they have. You're validating it. You know what? One of the hardest things to do as a human being is to embrace your emotions, but yet walk in grace. I'll explain. You're going to have situations come up that you know you have justification to feel the way you do. You are on point. But they're going to try to knock you off that position. May it be covertly or like a bull in a china shop. And it's your responsibility to speak your truth. You know why? It's your truth. It defines you. It don't impact them. It impacts you. But let me tell you what. Until you do, until you're able to look yourself in that mirror and say, you know what? I might not have listened to whatever that dude was saying, but one thing was right. I deserve to heal. I deserve to turn a page in my life. I deserve to be loved. And I'm going to do something about it. Maybe, just maybe, you'll have that conversation with God. You got to remember something, y'all. The moment that your first breath was taken, your legacy was written. I know somebody's saying, well, Gerald, how you going to tell me that? And I've been an addict for 15 years. That's part of my legacy? No. That's part of your testimony because you're going to come through that. You may say this. So you telling me all that time that I was incarcerated, that's part of my legacy? No. That's for you to teach someone what not to do. This is one thing I've learned about our lives. We all play the student and the teacher in the intended time. I know I'm talking to someone. So now, society has pretty much convinced our young to not see their worth, to willfully self-exploit themselves. I ain't gotta tell you, you look on all social media, you got Marsha Brady twerking now. It was okay in the other communities, but now she's doing it. You got little Johnny that's more geared up to get that serial number for that jail cell, knowing that he could be a Rhodes Scholar. I know I'm talking to someone. You know why this is playing out? It's playing out for two reasons. Number one, you refuse to speak your truth. And number two, you're not defending what matters most. That goes out to some of my parents out there. You're stressing. You're up late at night because you don't know where your babies are. But your intuition tells you exactly what they're doing. See, they are extensions of you. They're doing exactly what you did. And it's your role as their parent to guide them, to protect them from themselves. Because I'm gonna tell you what, society is not it's not their responsibility to prepare them. It's yours. I know someone's saying, well, Gerald, I don't have any kids. But you got influence to that little boy you see all the time. You got inspiration to that little girl that you see. Why do you think you're seeing them all the time? Because there's something that you're required to do. Or, on the contrary, you see that bad behavior. And inside yourself, you're saying, I used to be just like that. That's why it's so important, my queens. You already know. You already know what don't work. But we got our little princesses growing up, rushing to grow old. You know what? It's such an abomination to you women. You know what I'm talking about. Sarah's not even 17, but she wants a body like a 35-year-old, but has not earned the right to motherhood, but she wants those curves. And at the highest bidder, someone will morph her temple, carve her out, only to see her on the back end, down the road, begging to take it out. It's no surprise you see these wannabe celebrities running to have those things yanked out of them, because God didn't make a mistake when he created you. Don't you see that? You were made perfect. But if you allow someone else to define your worth or define what is beautiful, you will always fall short. You know why? Because they don't want you to look within. They don't want you to see how priceless you really are. But guess what? The person that is intended to walk with you, because I keep telling this to y'all, there is a man there is a woman that is spiritually guided. That means they place God first in everything they do, that hold the keys to the other half of your life. That's why I convey to each and every one of you, stop looking for your mate. I don't say that to sound like a hater. I don't have the energy. What I'm trying to do is save you unnecessary delay. It's your responsibility to prepare for them. You want that dream guy or that dream girl to walk into your life? Prepare for them. We attract what we are. So if you are waiting on bated breath for that phone call, or you're waiting in that living room for that horn to blow, just know that's how they see you. That's how your worth is. And that is why the tears fall. I know I'm talking to someone. You may think, well, this must be what relationships are about because that's all I saw my dad do. Or maybe that's how my mom was because there was always someone there. But was love there? Or was there a lot of strife? Because know this, if you are a parent and your child has been blessed to be 14 years old, guess what? All the things that you thought you did in secret, they learned. I remember using this as an example at one time. There was a commercial back in the early 80s where this person, this mother was looking for her son. And she was going through the house. And she found her way into the garage. And in the garage, she saw her son with his back turned, getting ready to light a joint, right? And she puffed her chest out like, I can't believe you did that. And you with those beatnik friends, and who taught you how to do that? And the little boy turned around with them big old eyes and said, it was you. It was you. So, you think that your children don't see what you do? You make part of their personality, how they react. If you don't believe me, go right on YouTube and put it in the search engine. Good example. There's a little 1-year-old, whole mannerism, whole disposition. You can tell the influence was someone that she spent most time with. So, someone's saying, well, Gerald, what I do is what I do is my business. If I want to see whoever, I'll see whoever. And you have every right. But at what cost? What cost? Because children are walking data banks. And who has the most influence, that impression will be ingrained in them. That's how it works. So if your father was a Rolling Stone, guess what? If he has a son, he's going to think that's how he's supposed to treat women. If he has a daughter, she's going to look at him as, well, that's what is expected. Ain't nothing worse to watch your children suffer. And you know the reason why, and you can't do nothing about it. It's a choice. It's a choice. And that's not your walk. So now, in the last 5 years, you have seen a desire for people going into researching mysticism. Some use tarot, some people use runes, some people even will use numerology. Now let me throw this out here, and I know I'm gonna piss some people off, but it's the truth. You know, all those things were sciences that were taught by fallen angels. When God kicked Satan out of his dominion and cast him to the earth, he didn't come alone. He had a group of followers. And in turn, the knowledge that they had of the spiritual realm, they taught man. Why do you think the technology that we have looks the way it does? Mind you, we only use 6% of our brain. Now think about it. You're going to tell me that a human being had all that time to come with to understand a certain equation to make a certain outcome without some understanding? Someone had to teach him that. And that knowledge was passed down. So guess what? You got some people that emphatically believe that the devil is God. How wrong? How wrong? How wrong? That's why I convey this to you. Your circle should be blessed. It should be protected. I ain't got to tell you that. You already know. There should be a handful of people that know you well. But you're going to always have those that will always have an allurement when it comes to you. Because you may speak, act, or define something that they're not aware of, and that may be intriguing to them. And they're going to be gravitated to you like a light. Like Janet Jackson said, like a moth to a flame. That flame is your spirit, y'all. And the darkness will always be enslaved to that paradigm. It will always want to consume what is brightest. Why you think you're going through the conflicts you have at your job? Everybody know that you are the workhorse of your job. They know that. And you also know those that are afraid of it. To some, they may say, well, Gerald, that's because they're afraid of what's new. They don't like change. Why? Because it sheds light on things that are untouched or make things better. When it comes to your life, shouldn't it always be evolving? Because what's at stake is that man and that woman called you. Looking back at your life, so you don't even realize the person that you're destined to be is relying on the decisions you make today. But some of you do not have the courage to even say no. Why is that? There are a few things in this world that you're going to hold dear. You make sure that you're top priority. Because if you don't have your life together, everything that you do or represent will reflect it. I know someone asked me the other day, she said, Gerald, I just want to be in a committed relationship. I'm tired of the dating scene. It's the same old thing. But guess what? Why do you think the clubs are always in dark? Why do you think the music's so loud? Why do you think the drinks are always strong? It's to impair you from the things you really need to see. I know that needs to go out to somebody because you're pissed off at yourself because you know that this past weekend was another episode of Who Is My Lover? You woke up to someone you had no clue, but worse, you didn't even know where you were. And it terrified you. Or you went out, got toe up, and woke up in your bed alone to wake up in fear, trying to figure out how you got there. I know I'm talking to someone. Your angels brought you home. You have angels and spirit guides around you. But it's not their responsibility for you to make the right choices. They're there to aid you. That's why you hear in the scripture, you do not have because you have not asked. But mankind is quick to ask for the things we want that are always temporary, not the things that will last forever. Why do you think Keith Sweat sung that song, Make It Last Forever? Because you deserve it. But if you don't see your worth, and you continue to allow your pride to misguide your steps, you know what's going to happen? You're going to squander your essence. I ain't got to tell you. You got that friend. She younger than you, but she look older than you. It's for two reasons. Number one, physically, she lets anybody have her. Let's call a spade a spade. And you are mixing spirits because you got to understand. Stop looking the other way and acting like you don't know. Every time you open your legs, that is your doorway to the spiritual realm. Why you think? Why you think queens you have babies that way? That is a spiritual door. And the other is by way of social acceptance. So you think that being turned up is going to make you accepted. Don't you realize when you get turned up, you're setting yourself up to be turned out? King, why do you think you got them bumps there, dog? Why do you think you got that odor? Queen, it's supposed to look like a flower, not a weed. If you don't see your worth, you can't expect the person that you allow access to define it. You set that precedent. But you too busy looking at what the other girl got. She pushing that shiny car. She live in that big old house. But she ain't earned it. You know she didn't earn it. Because see, behind closed doors, she's doing something strange for some change. But she's not calling it what it is. This is social prostitution. If I give you something for something, what is that? To some say, hey, that's supply and demand. No. To others, they say that's business. And everybody knows when you mix business and pleasure together, you only have a mess. You need to put that victim card away. Matter of fact, if you look at that victim card, you'll see that your name was not even on it. It's not yours because it's not your life. You need to stop listening to the people in the cheap seats to convince you you don't deserve to be happy. He turn around and wave over your head all the things he's done. Okay, maybe he did do those things. But if there was no love in it, then guess what? It was nothing but an exchange. Queens, look at the fashion industry. Look how they have things, how the designs are. The more revealing for a reason. Why? Because they want to stimulate you. They want you to say, hey, I'm a trophy. Well, guess what? Trophies don't have brains. They don't think. They play a role. They play a position. And they get dust on them too. That's not your life. Never was. But I can't convince you, no matter how I try, to look within. You have to do that work. And when you decide to have the courage to do that, you'll start freeing yourself from those shackles. You gotta, I mean, real talk. If you're living with secrets, thinking, well, I'll just let time progress and no harm, no foul, guess what? The more time you let progress, that's more work you gotta do to undo or make wrongs right. And that's why you have the weariness on your face. It's written because the eyes are the window of your soul. It's no surprise you premature graying right now. That's happening for two reasons. One, you're letting your outer exterior influence your emotional state and health. And you're not eating right. You're not drinking enough water. Some of you are like, I ain't drinking no water, it tastes nasty. But guess what? Try to go through life without it, and you'll be dead in a week. When's the last time you actually detoxed? You go right on Amazon, they've got some great detox pills out there. Sit yourself down for about a weekend. Take those pills. And guess what? You'll drop about 10 pounds. You'll clean out your intestinal wall. You'll feel better. And it'll probably 9 times out of 10 balance out some of those issues that you got. Some of y'all going through inflammatory issues. I know I'm talking to someone. Every time you get stressed out, you swell up like a pumpkin. That's environmental. You said, no, Gerald, I gotta watch my salt. No, you gotta watch the company you keep. Don't you think you're worth it? And I challenge you on this. If you think I'm blowing smoke, try this. For 2 weeks, step away from all means of contact socially. 2 weeks. I would really say a month, and you're going to have a stark revelation, because you're going to see not only who has your best interest, but you're going to also see who is there going for the ride. God is praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern mine. Why you keep listening to those people in the cheap seats that don't want you to be the real you? How much are you going to allow that emotional backpack to weigh you down? Why don't you go talk to somebody to get some unbiased advice? The worst thing they can do is say, hey, you know what? You got yourself together. Or maybe show you something different. You're worth it. Love to hear from you. Got any questions, concerns? By all ways, place God first in everything you do. Stay blessed.